everybody, and welcome to Wine and Words Wednesday. It is October finally. The weather is getting cooler. We have on our comfy sweaters, hopefully. Maybe you're not drinking wine anymore. Maybe you're drinking some hot tea or something else nice and warm and cozy. It is getting darker earlier, and we are having our Wine and our Words Wednesday. I have some poems for you today about October, so sit back, relax, and enjoy. The first poem is by Robert Frost, and it is called October. O hushed October morning mild, thy leaves have ripened to the fall. Tomorrow's wind, if it be wild, should waste them all. The crows above the forest call, tomorrow they may form and go. O hushed October morning mild, begin the hours of this day slow. Make the day seem to us less brief, hearts not averse to being beguiled. Beguile us in the way you know. Release one leaf at break of day. At noon release another leaf. One from our trees, one far away. Retard the sun with gentle mist. Enchant the land with amethyst. Slow, slow. For the grapes' sake, if they are all, whose leaves already are burnt with frost, whose clustered fruit must else be lost, for the grapes' sake along the wall. That is October by Robert Frost. Now we have October's Party by George Cooper. October gave a party. The leave by hundreds came. The chestnuts, oaks, and maples, and leaves of every name. The sunshine spread a carpet, and everything was grand. Miss Weather led the dancing, Professor Wind the band. The chestnuts came in yellow, the oaks in crimson dressed. The lovely Mrs. Maple in scarlet looked their best. All balanced to their partners and gaily fluttered by. The sight was like a rainbow new fallen from the sky. Then in the rustic hollow at hide and seek they played. The party closed at sundown and everybody stayed. Professor Wind played louder, they flew along the ground, and then the party ended in jolly hands around. That was October Party. Now we go from October Party to October Weather. This is October Weather by Mabel Douglas Essay. There's a certain eerie sadness, tempered with exultant gladness, in October weather. Vanished is June's fertile sweetness, July's mellow rare completeness, August fleeing with September, leaves a beauty earth remembers in October weather. The long rows of China aster stiffly face a sure disaster. The vine grasped by the frost-keen fingers shrivels where it deserted lingers. Summer suns are mirrored brightly from the trees the frost touch lightly in October weather. There's a courage of the mountains and the daring of the rivers. There's the wisdom of the meadows autumn holds and guards forever. And they give a ripened gladness tinctured with the shadowy sadness to October weather. That was October Weather by Mabel Douglas Essay. Now we have a poem that's simply titled October by Annette Wynne. Black and gold and red and brown, olive pink and blue, what a riot of a gown, what a medley hue. What a way to go about, crimson cloak and vest, October is a dancer, dancing down the west. Such nice imagery in that one. October by Annette Wynne. Now we have another poem titled October. This poem is by Isaac McClellan. Another one simply titled October. It is October, and the glory of the year is in the skies and on the woods extended far and near. It glows in the burnished clouds and flushes all the air. It lies in hollow vales and uplands brown and bare. The tufts grove have lost their bright midsummer green, and now a softer russet flush creeps o'er the woodland scene. O'er distant purple hills there floats a gauzy veil, a silver vapor hovers o'er the rivers in the vale. The orchard trees all glisten with globes of yellow gold, that bend the bough and strew the earth with opulence untold. The ripened cornfields shake their pennons thin and white, and to a feast the chestnuts the village schools invite. The gossamer spiderweb is strung from tree to tree, and up the air the thistledown floats like a ship at sea. The asters and the dahlias like flames in gardens glow, and by the roadside wild flowers display their royal show. Dim seen, the cautious angler glides on from brook to brook, now by the open meadow, now in some bushy nook, and now across the mill pond with water plants o'ergrown. I see his floating boat, and where his lines are thrown, and o'er the salty marsh the guns report I hear, and see the snipe and curlew stop in their swift career, while o'er the open bays I see the wild ducks wheel, the redneck and the widgeon, the whistler and the teal. O glorious days of autumn, with all your pomp of skies, tour harvests and your fruits, your flowers of matchless dyes. How dear to manly sportsmen your ripe imperial time, your sports by streams and forest in nature's royal prime. That was October by Isaac McClellan. Now in October, this year especially, we have the census, which is very important. Hopefully everybody who's listening has taken the census. It's wrapping up. So we have here The Census Taker by Robert Frost. I came an errand one cloud-blowing evening to a slab-built black paper-covered house of one room and one window and one door, the only dwelling in a waste cut over. 100 square miles round it in the mountains, and that not dwelt in now by men or woman. It never had been dwelt in, though, by woman. So what is it that I make of sorrow? I came as census taker to the waste, to count the people in it, and found none. None in the 100 miles, none in the house, where I came last with some hope, but not much. After hours overlooking from the cliffs, an emptiness flayed to the very stone. I found no people that dared show themselves. None not in hiding from the outward eye. The time was autumn. But how anyone could tell the time of year when every tree that could have dropped a leaf was down itself, and nothing but the stump of it was left, now bringing out its rings in sugar of pitch, and every tree upstood a rotting trunk, without a single leaf to spend on autumn, or branch to whistle after what was spent. Perhaps the wind, the more without the help of breathing trees, said something of the time of year or day, the way it swung a door forever off the latch, as if rude men passed in and slammed it shut, each one behind him, for the next one to open for himself. I counted 9 I had no right to count, but this was dreamy unofficial counting. before I made the 10th across the threshold. Where was my supper? Where was anyone's? No lamp was lit. Nothing was on the table. The stove was cold. The stove was off the chimney. And down by one side, where it lagged a leg, the people that had loudly passed the door were people to the ear but not the eye. They were not on the table with their elbows. They were not sleeping in the shelves of bunks. I saw no men there and no bones of men there. I armed myself against such bones as might be. With the pitch-blackened stub of an axe handle, I picked up off the straw dust-covered floor. Not bones, but the ill-fitted window rattled. The door was still because I held it shut. While I thought what to do that could be done, about the house, about the people not there. This house in 1 year, fallen to decay, filled me with no less sorrow than the houses fallen to ruin in 10,000 years, where Asia wedges Africa from Europe. Nothing was left to do that I could see, unless to find that there was no one there and declare to the cliffs too far for echo, "This place is desert, and let whoso lurks in silence, if it is in he aggrieved, break silence now or be forever silent. Let him say why it should not be declared so. The melancholy of having to count souls, where they grow fewer and fewer every year, is extreme where they shrink to none at all. It must be I want life to go on living." That was The Census Taker by Robert Frost, in honor of census season, Census 2020. Now back to our October poems and our autumn poems. We have a few more for you today. This is Autumn by Joan Mitchell. The rusty leaves crunch and crackle. Blue haze hangs from the dim sky. The fields are matted with suntanned stalks. Wind rushes by. The last red berries hang from the thorn tree. The last red leaves fall to the ground. Bleakness through the trees and bushes comes without a sound. And lastly, October by Bobby Katz. October is when night guzzles up the orange sherbet sunset and sends the day to bed before supper. And October is when jack-o'-lanterns grin in the darkness and strange company crunches across the rumple of dry leaves to ring a doorbell. October is when you can be a ghost, a witch, a creature from outer space, almost anything. And the neighbors, fearing tricks, give you treats. Happy October, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me today for Wine and Words Wednesday. We'll see you in 2 weeks for more poems, stories, and wine and words. Bye now.